and get it.
Since the launch of the PlayStation 4, Sony's most powerful gaming platform has added quite a few hits to its library. So without further ado, here it is, IGN's top 25 PlayStation 4 games. Decaying crates and broken walls are all that stand between Detective Sebastian Castellanos and a gruesome death delivered by nightmarish monsters. While there are weapons and other tricks to fend off the enemies, they serve as mere illusions of power. The evil within capitalizes on limited empowerment to deliver one of the most tense and challenging survival horrors available. Few games hold up after 15 years, let alone get better with age. But Grim Fandango Remastered shatters this notion with updated visuals, an orchestrated score, and developer commentary that helps make Tim Schafer's classic adventure game a must-play experience. Telltale Games' The Wolf Among Us immediately thrusts players into an interesting, modern fantasy world while portraying a strong, heartfelt, and twisted story. The drama is thick, the dialogue is sharp, and the noir tone cements its style, and it all adds up to an emotional, unexpected, and intelligent story that's one of gaming's best. Lara Croft was in real danger of becoming a relic herself until Tomb Raider's reboot reinvigorated the series. It succeeded in showing a new side to a character that's been around for nearly 2 decades. But this wasn't all character study, with Tomb Raider brilliantly picking up the gauntlet thrown down by Uncharted, presenting an adventure brimming with spectacle and suspense. Minecraft is excellent for many reasons, but the most important is that it both encourages creativity and a sense of wonder. You can go to the Nether and explore dangerous dungeons, or you can burrow deep into a mountain and make a massive roller coaster. Few games have set the world on fire like Minecraft, and it's likely few ever will in the same way again. Watch Dogs combines the traditional Grand Theft Auto style shooting and driving with an original twist. Computer hacking skills that effectively give you magic powers in a modern city, enabling you to control streetlights and drain bank accounts on a whim. This rendition of Chicago is beautiful and packed with tons of side missions and activities that do a great job of making its meaty campaign feel even longer than it is. Advanced Warfare fully commits to all the abilities afforded by its new exosuits, giving players a chance to explore combat possibilities in a way that the franchise hasn't allowed in quite some time. The result is the most fluid, dynamic Call of Duty in recent memory, and with the power of current-gen consoles, that silky 60 frames per second doesn't have to come at the cost of eye candy anymore. The Swapper is one of those puzzle games that takes a single, relatively simple mechanic and utilizes it to its fullest. The puzzles become increasingly ingenious throughout this lean experience, but the thing that really sticks with you is the subtle yet incredible story. Who are these clones you're creating, and how should you feel when you reach a puzzle where you have to kill a number of them in order to proceed? Far Cry 4's open world isn't just for show, though if it was, it still would have been worth exploring. The Shangri-La sections in particular were like taking a safari through an absurdist fever dream we didn't want to wake up from. Even if it weren't so gorgeous, the smart in-game economy, flexible combat, and well-designed side quests made it tough to stay on the beaten path. Remember the fluidity, split-second reactions, and sense of exhilaration a good run through a level of Sonic the Hedgehog gave you in the 16-bit era? That's how Velocity 2X makes you feel while lacing into groups of space baddies at high speed, whether you're zipping along vertically in your Corp Jet or horizontally in the new on-foot segments. So much more than a simple shooter, Velocity 2X melds exploration, puzzle solving, and platforming into one cohesive package, then sprinkles a unique teleportation mechanic on top to create a diverse shmup that looks familiar but feels like nothing else you've played. Final Fantasy XIV isn't the best massively multiplayer online role-playing game on PlayStation 4, it earns that title and its place on this list because it's an excellent MMORPG no matter where you play it. Square Enix's liberating class and skill system sets Final Fantasy XIV apart, allowing for more variety than most MMORPGs, especially when you mix in some secondary abilities and the dynamic fate events. Games are frequently stimulating, but rarely are they soothing and poetic. Flower allows you to take control of the wind, guiding petals through rolling fields, bringing life into a world on the verge of darkness and despair. Despite abandoning traditional narrative principles and having no discernible characters, Flower has a rich, powerful story to tell, and if it wasn't enough, it somehow succeeds in making motion controls feel not only natural, but absolutely essential. When Guacamelee came to PlayStation 3 and PlayStation Vita, its beautiful graphics, fluid beat-em-up gameplay, and Metroidvania-style non-linearity floored gamers. On the PS4, in the form of Super Turbo Championship Edition, it's more fun than ever. Bundled in with previously released DLC, as well as all new areas totally unique to this version, Guacamelee on PS4 is a familiar experience, but one absolutely worth delving into again. The whole hook of an open world game is that it gives players freedom, the ability to run amok in wide open spaces. But few open world games give you a set of brushes big enough to make that canvas worth it, and infamous Second Son is one of them. While the incredible performance capture brings great characters like Fetch Walker and main villain Brooke Augustine to life, the real star of the show is Delson's powers, which are as fun to look at as they are to use thanks to an array of impressive visual effects. Assassin's Creed returned to form in Black Flag. It pairs the traditional Assassin's Creed stalking and killing of Templars with a lighter, swashbuckling tone and immersive free-roaming sailing on the open seas of the Caribbean. On top of that, the sailing and naval combat changes up the pace beautifully, and of course, the PS4 makes all of it look amazing. While Rogue Legacy looks like a fairly run-of-the-mill 2D action platformer at first, it's actually one of the most epic and idiosyncratic adventures around. Inheriting an ever-changing set of genetic strengths and weaknesses presents a constant challenge, but the real triumph of Rogue Legacy is that failure never feels dispiriting. Against all odds, Rayman Legends manages to eclipse its predecessor. The sheer inventiveness of the art direction and level design impresses more and more with every passing level. From beginning to end, Legends never stops topping itself, whether it's with a musically themed level that makes clever use of Eye of the Tiger, or one of the many visually stunning boss fights. Many of us grew up with Japanese RPGs, but very few of them have grown up with us. Child of Light is a brilliant example of what happens when talented artists and designers who've loved JRPGs all their life decide to make one that isn't constrained by the sophomoric tone that permeates much of the genre. The battle system melds turn-based and real-time combat in a way that's thrilling and immediate without ever being twitchy or clumsy, and its watercolored fantasy landscapes and Shakespearean poetry make its story feel archetypal rather than stereotypical. Diablo III Ultimate Evil Edition's endless cycle of rewarding action is as addictive as can be, and its beautiful art makes chopping demons into chunks of gore all the more satisfying. With 5 distinct classes, piles of weapons and armor, including legendary gear with game-changing effects, and a never-ending adventure mode that escalates the challenge as high as you want it to go, there's a lot to do and see. Sharing that action with up to 3 other players on one screen makes it one of our favorite couch co-op games too. Supergiant's follow-up to Bastion is a gorgeous, deep, and memorable action RPG. Transistor's confident art style helps create a unique and memorable world, and its stellar soundtrack is one of the strongest in recent memory. But Transistor's beauty isn't only skin deep. Its combat system is a unique beast that provides an impossible amount of satisfaction. Monolith put Middle-earth's Shadow of Mordor on the map with the Nemesis system. It surprised and delighted us with the personality imbued to its dynamic Uruk captains and war chiefs. Memorable battles against randomly generated characters with names like Blorg the Ruinous, Mugrish the Drunk, or Barfa the Bloodlover make it a fantastic action adventure. It may be the same core game as its PS3 counterpart, but that doesn't make it any less incredible. In fact, the PS4 edition of Grand Theft Auto V earns extra points for taking an already huge, deep game and adding more songs, more props to cutscenes, more vehicles, and biggest of all, an incredible first-person mode that makes the already seminal GTA V feel like a completely different game. Over a year from its release, Resogun is still one of the most dominant and enjoyable games on the PS4. Housemarque is the undisputed master of the twin-stick shooter, and Resogun leverages that know-how to the fullest. At its core, Resogun is about the same simple hook that rests at the heart of old-school arcade play, high score chasing and leaderboard climbing. PS4 doesn't have another game even remotely as addictive. Dragon Age Inquisition, our 2014 Game of the Year winner, raises the bar for excellence in design of modern role-playing games. In the dozens or hundreds of hours you can spend with its grand story, nuanced characters, and epic battles, BioWare's latest masterpiece entrenches itself as one of the greats. The re-release of Naughty Dog's smash hit game comes bundled in with the fabulous Left Behind prequel, as well as upgraded visuals and some other tweaks, fixes, and new additions. But it's also the same fantastic survival action game, with the same superb story and amazing performances. The Last of Us is an unmitigated, undisputed masterpiece, arguably last generation's greatest game on any console, and perhaps one of the best games of all time. So it comes as little surprise that it's PS4's single biggest must-play. And that's it for IGN's Top 25 PS4 list. How's it compare to your list? Sound off in the comments below, and for all things PlayStation, stay tuned to IGN.
Come and get it.